obviously, right? Obviously, some form of ID showing for voting, everywhere in the world, I think would be good, right? Because we have too many illegal people everywhere in the world, and they were placed there. They were encouraged to go there, even brought there to all those countries in Europe, in North America, like they're everywhere. Thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of illegal people moving around the planet. And I think, honestly, my thoughts are they're in a way groups of people kind of created by the deep state, by creating the religion they're involved in. I mean, I think deep state and or dark cult created all the religions, by the way. So don't get me wrong, I'm not coming down on one or two of them. I'm saying across the board, organized religions are created by deep state, or at least they've been taken over at some point. So I think all of them are used in a negative way, but in particular, and you guys all know what I'm talking about, there's these strange, like people being imported that have none of the usual ways of understanding life that we do. Okay, so, and then they import them into these places and disrupt everybody. Okay, they did that on purpose. Okay, so I circulated some very offensive, and I understand that they're very offensive videos recently this morning, and I'm sure I'll get some comments about that. But to show you, just like they got it on film, these guys with animals, having sex with animals, like the level of depravity and not very human behavior, not very evolved. Let's call it evolved. These are unevolved cultures, okay? And I don't care what anyone says, there's unevolved cultures in the world, and it was purposely created. I believe they purposely created, kept these people unevolved, uninformed, and used oppressive religions to keep them in places of unevolved energies, frequencies. And then they moved them all around the planet. They did it on purpose. They've been doing it for thousands of years. Okay, they create, and even like any kind of culture that would treat the women as badly as some of these cultures treat their women, and then come to North American and European countries and have no respect for women and think they're just there for their raping, just like they're doing to their own animals, never mind their women. Like it's absurd and disgusting. Like it's disgusting, and they don't belong. They don't belong in the places that they're putting them, and they don't feel at home there either, I'm sure, because they're not very welcome when they start just living their life the way they normally are used to. Okay, so you can be mad at me for saying that, but all of that happens to be a true thing. It's all true. Okay, so they're doing it on purpose. So they created that, allowed those cultures to like encouraged it, created it in a way with the religion, like they created these places and kept them really poor, so they're not very worldly. Now they get plunked down somewhere else and they have no idea of the cultural, what they do is not okay anywhere else. And any really evolved human who is evolved in a natural way, I believe, wouldn't do the things that they're doing. Using sidewalks out in the open in broad daylight for toilets, stuff like that. So I believe, though, that whole thing was orchestrated. So just so you know where I'm coming from. Okay, so she's saying digital ID, and maybe these people are like maybe part reptilian. I don't know, right? Because remember, Trump said they're not sending us their best. Okay, it's pretty interesting. What did he really mean by that, right? What did he mean? These inbred people, partly like it's okay to marry your first cousin, marrying each other's brothers and sisters. Like it's the stuff that was encouraged in these communities, and then they're everywhere. Okay, is not okay. And has long been understood to be problematic. And then all of a sudden we've got thousands of them living next door. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's at best, obviously a huge, I'm hoping it's a big psyop. Like I'm hoping this changes. Anyway, sorry for the rant, guys. I've been watching maybe too many freaky videos today, and the rabbit holes you go down, you get a little crazy. Okay, so did what Gally Lucy claim is that in fact the case? So the digital ID. So we've got 6. So it looks like. So we've got a huge judgment. I feel like we're going to have a choice. I feel like we still have to say no to a bad digital ID, that there may be a unique form of the digital ID that might come out later. But I think the one that's being presented now still needs to be said no to. So I'm going to say I'm not necessarily getting that what she's saying is correct. Okay, but I'm not necessarily getting it's incorrect. It could be just the way the person asked the question. It just looks like the one being presented has to be said no to. That's not a good digital ID. And down the road, something like a digital ID, because this card's not exactly like it. This is a unique form of something. Okay, so they have to kind of kill the digital ID as it stands and then recreate it in a different way that's safer, because right now the one that's being presented doesn't look good. So I'm gonna kind of disagree with what she said there, and you know, maybe she's skipping all those details and going to years and years down the road when it finally a digital ID comes out that's actually done properly. But it looks like it's not present right now. Okay, so Bitcoin. Is it going down because of the Epstein connection or connections with human trafficking? Okay, so a lot of people are worried, and it has been going down, Bitcoin. Okay, like it has been taken quite a hit, actually. So let's have a look. Is Bitcoin going to go down and not be used going forward once good financial systems are introduced because of its connection to depravity of the deep state dark cult and all of their hideous doings? I'll just say it like that. Okay, so we've got, here's Bitcoin. So it's got the Queen of Pentacles as its archetype. So that's not really a going down sort of archetype. That one's holding strong. Okay, and then also we've got the Lovers. So we do have, it'll appear like it is though. So this is how it appears. So it appears like it is because, I mean, everyone's seeing it go down in real time. But I feel like there's things being done in the background and agreements being made and governments coming together and groups coming together, involved parties coming together. I feel like it'll go down a little more. Okay, and then clarity or something comes out about it, maybe it gets cleared or something, because this card says information coming out moves it out of troubled water. I feel like it'll appear that way and then it gets moved out of troubled water. So it could go down a little more before that. Maybe there's a 7 on the front of it. I don't know what I mean by that. I'll just say that. Or 7 more digits down. I don't know what I mean by 7. So, you know, I'm just going to say what I'm getting in the cards here. And I'm not a financial advisor in any way or a Bitcoin advisor. Okay, so I'm saying it doesn't look like it actually does, but it will appear to the public like it does. Okay, and it'll appear to be going down a little more, and then something clears it and it moves up again and, you know, to get some strength again and continues on its building. Okay, so the hit might take a while to recover from, but I feel like, yeah, it recovers and it gets used in the upcoming or the new financial system coming. Okay, let's have a look. So I'm going to say that's not true that Bitcoin's going down because of the Epstein info, although it might take a hit in the public for that. For some reason, they're showing that in the public right now. Now, why are there so many videos on Meghan Markle. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Meghan and Harry, and especially just really, really smearing Meghan. Like, just, is it just somebody out there that just hates her, wants to take her down? Is this like part of the White Hat Alliance? Like I've done, okay, if you're new here, you won't know this, but I did videos on the royals for years and years, and I stopped doing them because Meghan Markle's long gone. She was rounded up in some of the first roundups, frankly, and even their wedding was a ruse. The whole thing. By then, they were already, I believe, even working for the White Hats to out the royals on what demonic flesh-eating creepy reptiles they are, like for real, and how they fake pregnancies and everything. Meghan was a prime example of how, like, she showed everybody how they use transgender children from birth, who they transgender, like she was a boy from birth, and then now they marry them to these people that are supposed to be royals. We don't even know if they really are. We don't even know who Harry is. Probably many, many times removed from the original Harry, by the way. And then they present them as these royal couples, and they're not really married in any real way. And then they even have children that are fake. So they made that really clear that, like, even normies could figure out, hey, wait a sec, I don't think their kids are real. Okay. And there was all kinds of psyops going on around their children. Do you remember? And anyone who actually believes any stories about them as being real are absolute fools. And I'm just saying, right? You don't need, you don't need too many brain cells to figure out real quick that every story about Meghan and Harry was fake. Okay, everyone, like, it was all, and shown to you right in your face, where her fake belly was down around her knees, and then, like, on video, and then pulled up by the time she came out of an event. Now, oh, she looks 9 months pregnant. Like, it was unbelievable how obvious. So they were used in the theater and the movie we're watching to show you about what the royals do and how they do what they do. Okay, so I'll say all of that. Now we're going to ask, why are so many? So why are the hits now? Are they about to expose that these guys were just part of the theater? Is that coming out soon? Does somebody just have a hate on for Meghan Markle and think she's real, so they want to take her down? Like, what's going on? Because I've seen like all over social media, it's almost like viral. And of course, there was those horrible pictures. I mean, she would have never, if that was the real Meghan Markle, would she allow those horrific pictures to go like worldwide in a huge newspaper? Or I guess it was a magazine that she would just recently, all these pictures were posted of her, and they were the worst pictures I've ever seen. It was like the person taking the photos absolutely wanted to destroy anybody's thoughts about her as any kind of beauty and or it was outrageous. So again, part of the theater, guys. So when something's that outrageous, we got to use our noggins and go, I think I'm watching theater here, and I wonder, what they're doing. So we're looking at, what are they up to with that? Oh, they're up to stuff for sure. Okay, so they got something really good they want to bring out on her. She's going to be part of the Epstein, I bet. Of course, we know that there's also a lot of evidence that she was what they call a yacht girl. Okay, so she was an escort on yachts that Epstein owned, and escorted the rich and famous. So she was a little plaything on yachts, okay, called a yacht girl. Okay, go down that rabbit hole. I feel like they're anticipating stuff like that coming out. Okay, also stuff on the royals and including the Queen. Okay, somehow this leads us to really taking down the royals, and a big part of it is they're going to start with taking down the edges, so that they're taking down the low-lying fruit, and then they'll go for the bigger hits. Like, it'll be a lot harder to convince people the real truth about that close inner circle, but the outer circles are coming for. Okay, so they're just preparing it for when they take down all of the royals. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Let's see. Now, somebody put something out there that was saying, and here's where I wish I had Coco, because she could show you. Jean-Claude sent it to me while I was away with the kids there, visiting my old pops, my dad, who's 92 or 3 now, but might even be 93 by now. I think he's just turning 93 in February. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so was Doge really dismantled before it was even finished its work, and just basically a big waste, and looks like even the way they operated it could have actually worked to the detriment of the US. Okay, the way they spun this. And I think it was Catherine Austin Fitz might have been putting it out there, or somehow she was named in this. I put it on my social medias, so you'll find it on, and also Jean-Claude, I think, shared it as well. He might have. You'll find it on my Telegram, and you'll find it on my X. Yeah, so go to the social medias and check it out. And yeah, I'm sure you've seen this because it's floating around all over social media. So it's basically a big hit on Doge and what a joke it was, and how it was just really to create maybe even money for all these people that Elon Musk hired to look into it, and that really they weren't qualified. So that's kind of like the gist of what they were saying. So it was kind of alarming for people, and whoever asked this question, I think, probably believed it to be true and was alarmed. Now, since I've seen that come out, I've also seen that Elon Musk himself disclaiming that and saying, no, someone was just taking a hit on us. That's not even a true, that might have been a fake news. Okay, so I've seen that since I even decided to put this question in here. Okay, so let's have a look at, is Doge in fact dismantled and really was a deep state ploy in the first place and didn't really do the good it was supposed to do, blah, blah, blah? Or was it in fact useful? Is it still going on? Maybe that was a hit piece on it. Let's have a look. Okay, so we've got the 9. And so right away here, these 2 cards are indicating that it's not dismantled. It still has some work to do, but it's definitely done a lot already, because that card's like you got one more fight in you. This card is a military card, so I think it's a military operation. I don't think it's really Elon Musk at the helm, or some of his, according to this article or this post that was out, it was saying incompetent AI people's just getting paid, but really they weren't really working for the Americans to help, reclaim some of this or out this stuff that was going on with the U.S. spending. Okay, but I believe, looking at these cards, that's not true. Okay, so I'm thinking that was a hit piece. When I look at this, I think we've got a lot more coming out in the future that Doge or whatever it's called, DOGE, it was in fact, is in fact still really at play, and it's even going to change a lot of things for the better in the coming, because it really was working the way originally we were told it was going to work. So I think that was a hit piece. Okay, so I'm not buying that they dismantled Doge prematurely and that it was a big psyop. No, I'm not going to buy that, not according to those cards. Okay, so this one's from Australia, an Australian viewer, and they want to know, there was somebody named, and you'll have to look this up for yourself, okay, because again, I don't have Coco to help me, Desi Freeman in Victoria, Australia, because they said Vic, Australia. I was assuming they meant Victoria. Okay, correct me in the comments if you're from Australia. Okay, so the story's coming out of Victoria, Australia. He was supposedly a fellow who was ambushed by 10 police, okay, to serve a warrant They were serving him a warrant, 10 guys. So I wonder what that warrant was on. So please fill in the gaps on the story, guys, if you're from Australia and you know more about this. And apparently he shot and killed. So here's where the story goes. This was 3 months ago-ish. He shot and killed 2 and wounded 1 of those cops that were serving the warrant. And then he escaped on foot, armed, into the bush, okay? Despite a huge manhunt, they haven't found him yet. That was 3 months ago. Okay. Sounds pretty unbelievable, but let's have a look. Is this story about Desi Freeman true? What I just spoke out there. Is any of that true? Is some of that true? Is that a psyop for some reason to show the incompetence? See, a lot of these psyops are to show the incompetence of, for instance, the ostrich one, which I believe was a psyop, okay, to show the incompetence and the overreach of these agencies. In the case of the ostriches, the RCMP, it could take them down, okay, help take them down, and really shows whose side they're really on. And it also showed the incompetence and absurdity of that agency with all the letters in it that starts with a C, and I can't remember the rest of the letters, but that's constantly going on to people's farms in Canada and killing their animals. Okay, so the stories that spun off of that story really, really does highlight the incompetence of our government agencies, overreach of those kind of agencies, and that includes the RCMP, who are in fact thugs for the government. Okay, so it really did highlight that, and I believe that's what it was trying to do. Now, is this Desi Freeman in Australia here that's running around in the bush supposedly for 3 months, eluding a huge manhunt? Is that a psyop? And maybe for the same reasons. So that's actually my question. Is the Desi Freeman story a psyop, or is he real? And is there really, like, what a guy? I mean, he's running around, on foot for 3 months. I mean, by now he might have acquired a vehicle, but eluding the cops, like, is it, that really tells us something about, sounds like their cops are as bad as the rest of the cops all over the world. Okay, so let's have a look. So we've got 10. 10's the end of something, and the 8. We've got, okay. So the story is theater. So it is a psyop, and it's designed for the public, to do something for the public. So it's pointing out. So everything that story pointed out at the incompetence of, and all the incompetences, which were many, it looks like, that it was pointing out. So somebody fill us in on what those might be if you're from there. It is a story to point out the incompetence of everybody involved, and how they totally fumble stuff. Okay, and so the story is a psyop, guys. So it's a psyop, and it was designed on purpose to point out incompetences. So it sounds like White Hat Alliance also is overseeing some of these things, even in Australia, which I've been getting for years. Okay, so that's actually good news, okay, because if that story was true, it'd be pretty, sad. Okay, now one more here. Somebody asked about preferred travel in the future. Like, what will we be seeing? Will people be traveling through portals, underground trains? Like, are flights even going to be, the way flights are right now, they're so archaic. Like, oh man, the way we travel now, like country to country, it's pretty archaic, really. And we know that they have underground trains, underground submarine systems, portals that they can, like, they got these jump rooms apparently. And I've looked into all of this with the cards. The cards say yes to all of it. Okay, so they have all of these things. Are we as regular folks, I'll put it this way, because I think this way of saying the question will be better. Are we as regular folks going to be allowed to use, like, are we going to have access, let's say it like this, have access to portals, underground trains, and underground subs, like submarines that could take us. I bet there's even tunneling right under from like under oceans. I bet there's tunneling under oceans. Are we going to have access to these advanced travel ways of travel that the elites have been using? Let's ask it like that. And when? Okay, let's see what we got here. I feel like we've got some events to go through and some more theater to watch, unfortunately, and truths to come out. I feel like it's a yes with the sun, but it's going to take time. And first, they have to really show us a whole bunch more things that, like the regular folks need to know what we all know. And we're going to need more, things to happen, like even scary things for the public. That financial, we've been seeing a financial crash. It's actually been crashing for quite some time. Finance isn't what it appears. The world of banks and banking, I feel like there's a whole other system has been running side by side for years now. So we really still need to have truths around all of this and have this outed and some of this stuff actually functioning before we will get to have this kind of travel. So it could take some time. Like maybe by next, I'm going to say January, February. So before we even get a chance to start seeing this stuff, it's going to take till. So I'm going to say late 2026, early 2027. More like that before that. But yes, I think we will have access to that, but not for a while. Lots more stuff to go through first. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back to some regular, I guess this week's a little irregular. You can just go to the Beyond Mystic to have a look at when we're going to be doing some of the things. We're disrupting a few things this week, but just go on over and have a look, and I'll let you know. Friday is also going to be my next, so I won't be doing a Wednesday world news, but I will do a Friday one. Okay, so it'll be this week Tuesday, like right now today, and Friday. Those are going to be my world newses. All right, thank you so much, everybody, and take care. Sending you all ravens. Anyway, but there's little shrews and stuff. He'll go after those for sure. And I think the amount of cats around, there's several cats living in various different neighbors places, and they really take care of the mice situation. There are really no mice. And really, it seems like a perfect mice kind of place. But no mice. All right, so this is the 19th we're looking at. That's today, Wednesday the 19th. What a great date, hey? November 19th. I love it. All right. Wow, this looks really good, actually. We've got the Six of Wands, which is a victory. A victory for humanity, and that's in the now and how and what we're going into the day with. So something happened, but it maybe happened not necessarily out in the open, because this is a secretive card. Okay, and it could also be talking about how many secrets have already been revealed. Okay, but there's a victory around a situation that involves world governments. Okay, but it might have been done in secrecy with this card. And the other way you could read that card, maybe it's both of these things, is it's a victory around the world, how many secrets have been revealed. Have you noticed how much it's being revealed about the vax? I know it's been slow coming out, but I feel like it's so important that they did it properly, or people would just call the whole Trump administration vax deniers, etc., and or anti-vaxxers. Okay, so they had to be very careful. They've been very careful. And I feel like it's all over the world. It's being exposed how many people have died and or becoming ill with various different things, heart diseases and cancers and turbo cancers because of vaccinations. That's becoming actually a talking point, even on some mainstream medias. Okay, so we're going to need to just keep watching that roll out. Pretty soon it'll be common knowledge. Okay, but it's taking a while for people to admit that they're hearing that because they've all been vaxxed. So they're like, they have to admit they were wrong. They might have done something to their children, their wives, their partners, their parents, themselves. You know, that's a hard one. So that one, that's why they're being so careful with that. Anyway, so it does look like we need to celebrate, take a minute and recognize how much has come out, how much is available out there. And also the fact that we're not in a situation where we're still locked down, which was the idea. They were going to lock us down for 10 years. People like me would have been in camps if this hadn't been a white hat alliance in the background undoing all the things the bad guys did. And they're still doing that. Like, it's still necessary to do it that way. Okay, but it's coming more and more in the open. Now, right in the middle here, we've got the Page of Cups here. So the Page of Cups. So also we're seeing the tip of the iceberg on, and it's been showing its skirt for quite a while, on the Epstein situation. Like, it feels like it's now becoming clear that the way Trump was treating it, it was a way to force it out and out of the hands of the Dems and make them even yell for it to be disclosed, when in fact their leadership's largely involved in like on those lists. So it's not their government, like the far left government, that wants that to happen. And it's not just the far left, by the way. It'll touch everybody. It'll touch every governing body, every higher echelon of our communities and culture as a human race. Like the Epstein list, I feel like, if there is an actual list, I think it's more just disclosure, let's call it that. And that's already ramping up. And I feel like we didn't get it last week. I saw in the cards we weren't going to get it last week, but I feel like it's coming. Okay, there's going to be some setbacks, but this is something that by February could be rolled out. And I keep getting February as a big date for a really big shift. Now, the thing is, could be any time between now and then, how the cards read, but it is a retrograde. And I think we've still got at least another 10 days of retrograde. So somebody look that up for me, put it in the comments if you don't mind. Because I don't right here have a computer I can look that up with. Okay, so here we've got the Four of Cups here. So this is advice. So the Four of Cups. I feel like the amount of things that are out there is, we still have to do a little legwork to find it. It's not necessarily right on mainstream media, but who trusts those guys anymore anyway? Do you know what I mean? But to celebrate what we do see out there. And we're going to continue to see it unfold. All right, let's have a look. Let's do, that was the 19th. I got to keep track here. November 20th, so Thursday, November 20th. And by the way, if you're watching this anywhere but tarotbyjanine.com, please, report that person and report that place that it's posted, and come on over to tarotbyjanine.com and support my work. And thanks to everybody who does already. Okay, so now we've got, so that's the 20th, Thursday. what do the cards want to say about that? There's that 5. So temporary setbacks. We might see some financial setbacks. We might see where we're starting to see the we've been starting to see, we've been watching the financial world just crumble and crumble and crumble. But like I've never seen anything go so slow. It's like it's going in slow motion. But we continue to see that. We'll continue to see some disturbing things in the financial world. They'll only be disturbing to those not paying attention. I'm fully expecting it, and I'm sure most of you are. Also, we might see the up and down, because that card's like temporary setbacks of gold, silver. We've been seeing that keeps going from between 53 and 48 kind of thing, silver. So that's a bit annoying. US dollars an ounce. And gold even, I think, went down a little and then went back up. And Bitcoin, interesting. Bitcoin taking some hits. Okay, so thank goodness this card looks temporary. So I think some of those things, the ones that are going to last, and you can be sure, I can say I feel really confident, and I'm not a financial advisor by any means, but I feel very confident that gold and silver will always hold value. Okay, you might not, I don't know what I'm hoping that they do really well, because they look like they do in the cards, but they'll definitely hold value if nothing else. Okay, so it's a way to hold on to. So you spend those dollars that are daily disintegrating in value, and you hold on to it, and this will only inch its way up and maybe even jump up. Okay, gold and silver. And some people still really believe in Bitcoin. And I don't know anything about, I don't even have any. I think my nephew bought some for me or traded me some, but not that I keep track of or know anything about. So, I don't know about that. It looks good. When we last did a forecast, it looked like it'd go a little shaky and then come back up. But like I said, I'm no expert in the field, and I'm not going to, we're doing news here. We're not going to do financial news on those kind of details. But I will say that it does look like you might see some setbacks. It is a retrograde, though. You need to understand retrogrades, anything that needs to really adjust itself and make adjustments, will make adjustments during a retrograde, and it'll always look like it's going backwards. Things will always look like the past will come up and haunt you. Old things will trigger you. Things will be set back to only go forward in a more solid way. So retrogrades, look it up what it means. Okay, so here we've got some setbacks. So the idea here is not to emotionally get too engaged. People that get engaged in the daily movement of things like that, they're wasting their time. You got to look big picture. I mean, unless you're a day trader, you know what I mean? They those people, that might be important for them to pay attention. But look at the big picture and stay with the big picture. Visualize how you want to be. 6 months from now, 3 months from now, a month from now. That's how you do. Okay, but if you're like looking at things like that, okay, it's like it's a never ending. Like in the medicine cards, they call that the mouse medicine, and in the the advice to mouse medicine: jump high, little mouse, see the big picture. Okay, I'm a big picture girl. I don't get caught up in itchy scratchies like that. It just gets annoying. Okay, I look at the big picture, and overall, we're doing way better than we were in the lockdown pandemic. Okay, we're all doing way better, even though financially it looks really sketchy, but it's going to take that kind of energy to create ourselves financially. We're going to have to, it'll hurt a little first, and we all knew that was coming. Okay, so this 8 says this 8 of Pentacles, things are working just the way they're supposed to. We've got the Justice card in the middle. I think we're going to see lawsuits being announced, maybe one in particular, even in mainstream. And that could be Trump against somebody else. Like Trump's lawsuits are actually changing things. Okay, he might be really pointing out the BBC and their absolute demonic deep state and overreach to the general population by that lawsuit. He brought a lot of attention, and not good attention, to the BBC. So we can thank Trump for that. We can also thank him for a lot of people getting their YouTube channels back, albeit I find them to be fairly like having my YouTube channel back's a big dud because they've got me shadow banned still. So they're still full of absolute shit on YouTube. But anyway, yeah, they don't spread the news around, and I'd have to daily be on there. And you know what I mean? Like, meanwhile, no monetization, and I wouldn't be able to make my living on there. So I'm going to wait till things adjust there before I put tons of energy over there. But I'm absolutely going to put some cool, more personal stuff over there. That's what I trust it for that, but nothing else. And even that, I know people that even that get in trouble on YouTube when they're just sharing their life over there. Like, anyway, that's a whole nother story. But so we've got the justice card in the middle here. We've got the justice. So I feel like a lawsuit, and then underneath it looks like a government against a government or a governing. That could even be all that ostrich stuff. So I believe, and if you're going to get aggro about it in the comments, don't bother. I'll take your comment off. Okay. It's what the card said, and what I feel in my gut is that was a big psyop. Okay. To get in trouble a government agency that's overreached for many, many years. Okay. Now they're saying that government agency is going after some peacocks, okay, who are deal either and or, you know what I mean? As if they got that much bad press, they're going to all of a sudden look even worse in the press. Like, that's not how it usually works in these kind of things. Okay, so it's big red flag. We've got a psyop on our hands, and it's really, really putting a spotlight on the RCMP, who are absolutely compromised here. Like, look at the highway of tears with the RCMP, high ups in the RCMP going to the snuff club that was on the edge of the property that was known as the pig farmer. Look up that. Go down that rabbit hole. Okay, the pig farmer was just the guy getting rid of the bodies, feeding them to his pigs. Gross, right? I know, but yeah, you have to really, really go down the rabbit holes to understand, you know, the psyops you're watching. Okay, so if you're not willing to do that, you know, I can't help you. Okay, because it is a lot of work. It takes a lot of work, but I can spot them now from a mile away, and maybe somebody's going to give a big lawsuit, and it already looks like they're preparing to, against those, both how the RCMP handled things. Both those things could really rattle and shake up those agencies. Also, they'll likely take down that agency that's, you know, supposedly culled the birds there. Okay, so they'll probably be taking those guys down. I mean, they have nowhere to go really at this point. They got such bad press, which is exactly what a psyop wants to do if it's the good guys doing it. Okay, so that right there is a big clue. But anyway, so it looks like more of those or something in particular gets announced. That's on the 20th. And here we've got the 10. It'll help a lot of people. Might even be an announcement of a lawsuit that involves lots of people. What's that called again? Lots of people involved in a lawsuit. Somebody put it in the comments because my brain's not awake yet. You know, you guys know what I mean. Yeah. Anyway, that's on the 20th. So let's look at the 21st. Oh, another thing that's amazing that's been coming out, and I want everyone to, you know, really appreciate, like they've actually what are those things called? Chemtrails are actually chemtrails. They're not trying to pretend they're not chemtrails. They're chemicals, and they're trailing them and dumping from our skies onto our world. Okay, so that's really been outed lately, and I'm so happy to see that. Like, there's no going back. Like, nobody can tell you who used to say, oh, that's all a conspiracy. They can't say it is anymore. Okay, let's have a look. The 21st of November, so this would be Friday. Interesting. So we've got the 9 of Cups there and the 3. So the 9 of Cups, a big wish comes true about something that's been hurtful. So some big outing of something that's been very hurtful. Who's it been hurtful to? Okay, some big outing of something that becomes really obvious. It was fear porn. Okay, something that was being put out there that everyone was fearing. It looks like it gets taken down or stopped. Something gets stopped in its tracks that looks like, and I don't know where it is in the world, but something that was put out there that looked like somebody was going to get, some country or some state or a province was going to get a huge bill passed that was detrimental to their freedoms. Okay, that gets stopped. So something that looked really scary, and people, like regular folks that just watch news, thought, oh my goodness, okay, if they were paying attention, which unfortunately they don't enough, they thought they were going to get big freedoms and rights taken away, or maybe this truther society or this culture, truther culture, let's call it, thought that, but in fact gets taken out. Something gets stopped that looked like it was going to be a real freedom grab, taken away from our freedoms again. And I've seen a lot of that. Like, people will ask, oh, is this going to happen with the digital ID? Is this going to happen with the 15-minute cities in this place? And I always it gets stepped back. Sometimes even after it get kind of officially looks like it started. Okay, but they get stepped back. Something's going to get stepped back that looked really worrisome. And that'll be another cause to, so finding reasons to celebrate's a good idea, because even when things look really dreary, if you're busy celebrating what you see as good in the world, just more of that comes. It's like energy attracts like energy. So if you're sitting around doom and gloom in it and only looking at what's not happening and what hasn't happened yet, that just creates more of that. Really important to focus on and notice what is happening. Okay, awesome. Let's have a look here. Now we're going to have a look at the 23rd. Wait, so that was the 21st, 22nd, sorry. I'm going to have to keep track of these here. Okay, that was the 21st. We're going to look at November 22nd. So November 22nd, that's Saturday. Friday was the 21st, Saturday the 22nd. What's going on the 22nd? Strength and 7. Seven of Swords. That's a strategy card. So Saturday looks like a tough day if you're a normie. Tough day, and people in this community will have to hold their own in strength, strategize, focusing on the strengths that are happening and the good things in the world and not on the negative, because that day could take kind of an energetic bummer kind of day. Okay, something political feels like it's brewing. It'll feel like, I wonder if it's another one of those world war scares or something where, governments are banding together here. This is like 3 governments maybe coming together, and they're, making noise about going against some other country. So I don't know which ones we're talking about, but it feels like the news is we're going to need strength with the news on Saturday. There could also be some new reveals about children and or what's done to children, and in a more public way. So we could get more public, info on what's been going on with infants and children, which, that's always hard. Okay, but it feels like that's actually a gift to us. Information like that's a gift to us, and they're going to find a really creative way to bring that out too. So I don't know what I mean by that, and I feel like it somehow highlights someone, or in general Hollywood or entertainment industry. And also we've got the 6, so that it is a victory because it's secrets revealed, but it won't feel great, right? Because hearing stuff like that and all the details isn't fun, right? Yeah, it'll be disappointing, especially to normies, and disappointing generally, to hear about this stuff, but we already know about it. So in a way, this community will see it as secrets revealed and people catching up on what we already know. That part will be good. All right, so we'll need to be strong on Saturday. Yes, and now let's look at, so that was the 22nd. Let's look at the 23rd. So Sunday, the 23rd of November. That's the day my kids and I will be spending with their grandpa, my dad, who's apparently, unfortunately, kind of his memory's going fast. You know how that happens sometimes. He was doing great up until recently. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, maybe more info around that situation, around the children. More info. Also, it looks like some maybe even exciting news around the Epstein situation. Feels like something ongoing that we've heard about for a really long time that involves infants and children and young adults, all the trafficking. I think it goes way deeper though on the Epstein thing, the situation there. I think it's way deeper and more schmarmy and yucky and debauched than just young girls and women and men. I'm sure there was also men being abused. Everybody, nobody escapes that kind of abuse. It's not just women or children that are female. It's like all kinds of infants and like a whole bunch of creepy stuff going on Epstein Island and also on his other properties, by the way. But this looks like some more information getting us excited again about the files coming out or the more information coming out. And it does seem to lead to maybe a drop, maybe not that day, but it leads to, so something happens that's prepping us and leads to within, a couple of weeks here, it looks like, actually some big part of those files coming out, or maybe the whole info itself. So yeah, I feel like we're very close to really understanding or like actually getting our paws on the Epstein files or information, because I don't know, I guess we'll call it files, because if you just call it a list, I don't think that would be, I think the list has been out there for a really long time. A lot of people can guess even who's on the list. Okay. That part is certainly this community. We know what the list would probably look like, but I think it's more deeper information that's coming out. Yes. So we'll have to wait for it, but there's a setup that happens that we might read about here. If we're paying attention on November 23rd, we're going to hear about it, and it's setting us up. So that card sets up to put something out in the future, and it leads to directly. So something's done maybe politically that directly leads to what ends up being the release of a lot more information. And I think it's on the Epstein, but let's say it's around child trafficking and horrendous crimes against children and women and or humans, not just women. Like I said, I think I might need another coffee. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off now, and we'll see you guys if you're on the IAP. Jean-Claude and I are going to jump on here shortly, and we're going to see you on a very early Beyond the News. Take care, everybody. Sending you ravens. Bye-bye. Hoping that it helps us get through the hard times that we perceive are coming and are already upon us financially, right? Okay, so let's have a look. So we've got a soft yes. It says, do silver shortages actually exist? We got a soft yes. And we've got temperance. And when you get a soft yes and not a big card ace of a yes, it means it's more complex than that, but yes. Okay, yes, but it's more complex. Okay, and I believe that, okay, because all of this stuff's really complex. When you start looking into it, it could take years to really study how these financial markets work and how they're manipulated and how it basically has been screwing us regular folks for a really long time. And people were hoping that silver was going to bust out of that and help us preserve our wealth as well. So while your physical dollar, so the dollar, paper dollars, go down and down, and if you're living in Canada, you see it literally, it's horrifying how little our dollar's worth, right? It's about 60 cents on the US dollar, and it could even be lower. Like, it's so bad. Okay. And every day it's getting worse. And then US dollars also going down. Like, your money is worth so much less than it was even 5 years ago. Okay. Meanwhile, if you hold metals, and this is why people talk about metals, gold or silver, apparently it's holding that wealth in a way. So you buy it back here, and the whole idea is it holds the wealth. Okay. So then when you go to sell it, you still have that amount, not the lowered amount of what your dollar was when you first bought it, and maybe even more if it's gone up. What's causing the shortage of silver with this in the middle, it looks like. So yes, there is a shortage, and things are being done behind the scenes, hidden, and or there's a lot of confusion. And this is also in the public sector. So regular folks just really don't know enough about how metals work, what's really happening in those markets. They don't know. Okay. And temperance here is that's a universal timing card. Okay, so that's interesting. Universal timing is around this, or somehow it's a nod from the universe that silver is somehow really important to the universe. So that's interesting. Okay, now we've got the moon in the near future. Okay, so we asked, do silver shortages actually exist? So we've got a yes, but it's a little complicated. Also, there's a lot more to it that we don't know, and a lot of things going on behind the scenes that's creating these shortages. Okay, so it may not be exactly how we're being told. Okay, and is it manufactured, the shortages, for perception? So I'll say no, not really, because this was a yes. Even though it's complicated, it's still a yes. So I don't think it's manufactured that there is a shortage of silver. So that's maybe good news. But this is interesting. We've got the moon card in the near future. But this is like how other people see it here, the moon. Now we've got the 6 and the high priestess. Okay, so these two cards are interesting, and this is still around the idea that there's a shortage of silver in the world. Okay, and none of this indicates it kind of looks like people may, because they know very little about it and how it works, they may assume that there's a lot of falsehoods about silver and how the shortages work, etc., and how shorting it works. I feel like but it's not being manipulated that there's a shortage. That part doesn't look like that's the case. But there's certainly a lot of people who don't understand it. And I feel like they kept us in the dark on it on purpose, because they don't want, they being deep state and Illuminati, the dark cult that I talk about, like, let's say the elites, or who we now call the deletes, that 1% in the world that want to carry all the wealth. They don't want you knowing about any of this. Okay, so they've worked really hard to keep you right in the dark. And I feel like the biggest thing happening right now is there's going to be an outing on the secrets of how it works. Okay, so the whole situation that's happening around silver looks like it's actually designed to show you or show us how the manipulations have kept us, in a certain place. Okay, or out of the market of it, and or believing that it's just a pretty rock and you don't need any silver, that sort of thing. And I feel like that's actually the thing that's being outed, is the lie around that. So the secrets around really what it's worth, and even maybe the spiritual value of it, not only financial value. So I feel like, that answers my second question. Is it to reveal the manipulation of markets? Yeah, that's what I think it's saying here. It's to reveal the manipulations of markets for decades and how bankers have been using it and shorting it. Okay, and we just looked at that. You can go investigate more on what shorting means. Okay, that's sort of the technique they're using. And one of the techniques, I'm sure there's lots of them, but they've been manipulating it for years in the background. And it looks like the whole thing right now that's happening is actually to out that manipulation. So that answered that second question. Now, here's another question, and I got this from a digital soldier. I got all of these questions from digital soldiers, so I'm really thankful for that. This question's a good one. Will Trump step in? So the Trump brand, and what I mean by that is, because I believe Trump's part of what we call the white hats, or the SOC, as Cliff High calls it, the white hats, the SOC. This group of people, an alliance, you can throw the alliance in there, the Q group, all of those seem to work together, it seems. And what we're asking is, will that group step in and put controls over silver exchange and declare it illegal to manipulate it? Okay, is that going to happen? Because it feels like that needs to happen. And I also looked up, maybe Coco can show you, I looked up, is it illegal to short silver? And it looks like there's various rules, and they get around the rules. So on the surface, it's not illegal, but the way they've been doing it, when you further look into it, they have been doing it illegally. So it's very interesting. The deeper you look into it, they just barely on the surface appear like it isn't. They're not doing something illegal, but turns out they are. Okay, so let's have a look at, will Trump and Trump team or Trump brand White Hat Alliance, will they step in and actually create laws? Is this the time they're going to make it illegal for these banks to keep doing this? Because these banks have been doing it for years and manipulating us and our ability to create wealth for ourselves or hold wealth, and also, manipulating the price of silver for their own gain. All right, and keeping those paper dollars that are just getting more useless by the minute. They're keeping those afloat by doing it, right? Instead of doing something, so using, instead of us getting our hands on substantial actual wealth, something that'll actually be worth something down the road. Now let's have a look. So we've got the Hierophant, but it's coming up as the archetype of the people I was asking about. And are they gonna step up, right? So that's Trump team, Trump brand, and Alliance White Hat group. So now they're being described as this. And when this comes up as an archetype, the archetype is it's very busy. They've got their hands in a lot of pies. Okay. It's an organized chaos card. So it could be one of the things they're going to do. Okay. But there could be many things they're going to do to change how it's been working with metals. So that's interesting. And in particular, silver. Now we've got the Chariot. So they already started doing it, and it looks like it's happening fast. So yes, they already did. Okay, so they already did. We just don't know about it. And that might be one of those things that have happened in the background. And I've been talking about this for years, guys, that we are going to be treated to sort of the movie of as if it's happening in the now, but it actually happened earlier, likely in the last 3 or 4 years, possibly. So it's already happened. They've already created clamping down on these guys. Okay, just like there's been arrests, in my opinion, made. We looked at that last week, remember? Tribunals already happening. So things have already happened in that department. And it's going to change everything. It's going to change everything. You bet. And it's going to change it. It's going to be a lot of work, mind you, but it's been a lot of work to do this, but slowly and surely it changes the whole market, how, available these metals are. It's going to change everything about how we see wealth. And it's going to change our whole world, actually. Wow. That's wild. Okay. Well, that was fascinating. All right. Interesting. Yeah, Red October. So 50% off Inside Access Pass, code IAP50, and that's on beyondmystic.net. So if you want to become an IAP member for 50% off, and this ends, I believe, on, is it October 19th? It says it ends on October 19th. So yeah, you got a few days to get in on it. Also, we've got this bundle. So the crypto bundle, if you're looking at getting into crypto, 1, 2, and 3. Now Coco's on with this. She's starring in this, along with, I'm going to say his name right here, JSnip4. So along with JSnip4, and that's a buddy of Jean-Claude's, and he's a pretty learned in crypto. But Coco keeps him in line because she gets him to really dumb it down and just get real simplified, right? She keeps reminding him, no, you got to talk like, I don't know anything about this, so start from the beginning, because JSnip4 has been dealing with cryptos probably for many, many years. And, those experts, they get a little out of hand trying to explain it to us beginners. Anyway, so that's a 50% off, and it's valid until also the 19th, and that's on the Academy, so the Beyond Mystic Academy. So go check those out. Now, my second part here, because we're on the idea of silver here and wealth and etc., finances, we're going to ask the universe, okay, in what direction are us regular folks. So we're not talking about that 1% that I'm hoping actually get tossed right off the earth plane, frankly. I'm hoping that's already happening. And I believe it is. According to the cards, it's been happening for years, that we're getting rid of that demonic overlord oppressive bunch that have been oppressing us for, hundreds, maybe thousands of years. But I'm talking about us regular folks. How is it looking for us finishing off the year financially? Because it looks like big financial changes are already in the works. We've been talking about it for years. It's finally actually happening. Okay. And how does that look going into the new year for us? What does the universe want to tell us? And I know in the really big picture, the more we get into what we're calling the 5D world, or life in the 5D kind of thing, I feel like literally the way we understand finances is going to really change. But I'm looking more in the short term. So ending out the year and going into the new year, because a lot of us are still dealing in 3D sort of situations, right? Especially financially. Okay, so let's have a look. So we've got the Emperor. Okay, so that's interesting. And the 6, so the Emperor and the 6 of Swords. Now, the 6 of Swords, and we've talked about this a lot on the show here, moving you out of troubled water. See how the water's choppy here? And then it's clearer over here. So this person is moving a group of people, in this case, it looks like his family, out of troubled water, out of maybe even not knowing to knowing. He's giving clarity through conversation. So information, swords, thoughts and words, information. So the information is helping us understand, okay, we're moving out of choppy water financially. Okay, because you got to put it in context of what did we ask? We're moving out of, and guess who's helping us move out of? It looks like that Trump team, that alliance team, because this card's my Trump card, I call it. But I'm thinking of them as a brand, not an actual, just the individual person, because often we're not actually seeing the original Trump. Okay, we're seeing 3 or 4 different guys that play Trump. So it is quite fascinating. Now here we've got justice. So that's interesting. It's in the past, and it's saying a lot of things have already been brought to justice. That's where that tribunal stuff comes in. But it can also talk about karmic balance and justice. So universal justice. Okay. So because this is a card reading about what does the universe want to tell us, I'm going to go more with the universal justice. I feel like it's karmic and fair, that the world balances out, and it finally karmically balances out to the favor of regular folks, because these other guys have been pillaging us and feeding off our energy, our loosh, go look that one up, loosh, feeding off of us on our misery and creating misery for us and bad health and etc. And we've been letting them. And that's the whole thing. Okay, we're not necessarily, we may have been victimized, but we don't have to keep being victims to that. Okay, and we're moving out of allowing that to happen. We've somehow allowed that to happen, and we're learning how to say no, have boundaries, and not let ourselves be manipulated by that 1%. Okay, and they've been doing it in many different ways. So I'm not victim blaming, but I'm also saying let's not be in that victim mode anymore. Let's not think of ourselves as victims. Okay, we're moving out of troubled waters according to the universe, and a big part of it looks like it's what's been going on in what we call the spiritual war. Okay, but it's also karmic and just. So the universe was also fed up with that bunch. Okay, so it was time to right the situation, even spiritually. Okay. Yeah. Fascinating. And it's happening fast. I'd even say by February, you should see a really big change in the way, the markets look, money looks, banking looks, big changes. And I'm feeling like they're to the good. Okay. But there could be some rocky roads because this card can be a little reckless. There could be some reckless and rocky things happen first. Okay. And she can be a little difficult. So difficulties come first. But by February, I feel like things are starting to settle down, make more sense for us financially. And I feel like the rocky part of what happens with the banks, et cetera, and the system as it, makes the big adjustments it needs to make. I feel like that could be a little rough for some people. We're already seeing that with what's happening in Vietnam, where the banks are closing out everybody's bank accounts, etc. And we're also seeing it. There was somewhere else, and let me know in the comments if you know. There was one other place, I forget where it was, that was also experiencing this, not just Vietnam. Okay, so it's starting to happen in different places in the world where banks are literally closing down people's accounts and taking the money, like closing in on people's actual savings. Okay, and apparently that could happen in some banks across the world. That is a potential of what's happening right now. Okay, and we've been talking about this for years. Okay, and this feels like, you know, we're in for a bit of a rough ride here, but I do feel like by February, it's your ride gets a lot smoother, or things start to make a little more sense. And that's interesting, because when I looked into Vietnam, so I was looking into it on my world news on my tarotbyjanine.com. I do a world news, and just a little, like a 30-minute, a couple times a week. And I did see in the Vietnam look that they were actually going to get their money back, and it looked like by spring, okay, or some kind of adjustment was going to be made for those people who lost their money anyway. So, wow. Thank you so much, everybody, and sending you all ravens, and keep keep yourselves safe through these crazy times we're in.
Đành phải gật đầu, thở dài, làm theo thôi. Đại quân đắc thắng hồi doanh, chiến lợi phẩm thu về, chiến sĩ quân màn bắt được cùng gia quyến đều giải vào đại doanh. Còn binh đóng giữ thấy cũng nhảy nhót hớn hở, toàn bộ quân doanh vang dội tiếng hoan hô, khắp nơi đều tràn ngập niềm vui thắng lợi. Ngũ Ấn Siêu và Tống Tiểu Ái sóng vai đi về hướng soái trướng, muốn lên nước các tướng an trí chỗ cho tổ binh để đi xem thử vị lão già tính tình nóng nảy kia. Nhưng đúng lúc đến trước soái trướng, một cảnh tượng kỳ quái ở trướng bên cạnh đập vào mắt, hai người nhất thời đứng đờ ra đó. Lúc này trời chiều ngả về tây, trong ánh tịch dương, bên dưới đại kỳ chữ Tống, một nam nhân cởi trần bị trói vào cột cờ, tóc bị làm cho rối loạn, râu tóc dài tượt bết dính vào nhau như bị dội nước, phía dưới chỉ mặc một chiếc quần bó đụng cũng dính sát người, có vẻ vô cùng thảm hại. Ngũ Ấn Siêu chấn động thất thanh nói: "Cha!" Y quay sang Tống Tiểu Ái trợn mắt giãn giọng: "Đây là chiếu cố đàng hoàng mà muội nói à?" "Muội..." Tống Tiểu Ái khó biện bạch. Ngũ Ấn Siêu tức giận xua tay, đi qua gỡ trói cho Ngũ Vân Định. Lúc này quan binh nối đuôi vào trại. Ngũ Ấn Siêu sợ bị nhiều người trông thấy khiến phụ thân không chịu nổi, cũng không kịp tìm Tống Tiểu Ái tính sổ, vội vàng đỡ phụ thân vào trướng của mình. Tống Tiểu Ái nghẹn họng đứng sững sờ phía sau. Quan trướng đóng giữ cười hì hì chào đón, thì lễ nói: "Chúc mừng đại nhân lập được công lớn, chiến thắng trở về." Tống Tiểu Ái vừa thấy y không kìm nổi giận dữ nói: "Ngươi, ai kêu người tự tiện làm chủ đối xử với Ngũ đại nhân như thế?" Sĩ quan trừng mắt lấy làm lạ cười: "Đại nhân, không phải người bảo tiểu nhân chiếu cố đàng hoàng, quan chuyển lương không có mắt đó hả? Người thấy mặt tướng làm thế nào? Xem như y chuyển lương cũng đúng lúc, không để các huynh đệ đói bụng. Nhiêu đó chỉ tính là chiếu cố nho nhỏ, bằng không mặt tướng nhất định chiếu cố tốt hơn cho lão già đó cùng sắc nhất. Ngươi..." Tiểu Ái ấp không chờ được, giờ biết hai chữ chiếu cố trong quân có nghĩa là như vậy, thì lúc ấy không nhiều lời. Anh ngờ lúc sắp xuất binh lại cố ý gọi ý tới, vội vàng để lại một câu chiếu cố ông ta đàng hoàng cho ta. Không ngờ vị này lại hiểu thành điều khác. Tống Tiểu Ái quả thật không thể rút đao chém tên khốn kiếp này, nàng hất môi dập nước, rút cột buông thả tên tướng chạy tới bờ sông này, sau đó theo sau Ngũ Ấn Siêu. Ngũ Ấn Siêu vừa sợ vừa giận dìu cha vào quân trướng của mình, đến ngồi trên giường, lập tức quỳ sụp không đứng dậy trước giường, nói: "Phụ thân, để phụ thân trị đại nạn này là tội của con, xin phụ thân trách phạt." Ngũ Vân Định quen tay gỡ hai chỏng râu rộng ra, đang tiếc râu đều đứt lại hết nên rất rối, không cách nào vuốt cho uy nghiêm. Ngũ Vân Định không phải đau lòng thở dài. Ngày xưa là chồng dâu công oai phong bóng phán, ai cũng khen ở đây đúng như Vân Trường tại thế. Nhìn dáng vẻ hiện giờ đến Mạch Thành cũng tâm tạm như vậy. Ông ta buông hai tay xuống nói: Lăng Tiêu Thành hạ được rồi hả? Là nha đầu đó lập kế hoạch chỉ huy sao? Ngô An Siêu vội nói: Vâng, kế chiếm Lăng Tiêu Thành là tổng, là nàng ấy một tay lập kế hoạch. Phụ thần bất giận, khiến phụ thân đại nhãn chịu nhục, đều là các bất hiếu, xin phụ thần trách phạt. Ngô Văn Đình trợn mắt quát: Tiểu tử thối này mình liên quan gì đến mình? Giờ còn gánh tội thay cho nó sao? Ngô An Siêu vội vàng cúi đầu nói: Con không dám, là con bất hiếu. Tống Tiểu Ái nhỏ vào xuất hiện trên cửa, rụt rè nói: Ngô đại nhân, là cút ra ngoài cho ta. Ngô An Siêu quay đầu lại quát lên. Tống Tiểu Ái giận đến kinh hãi. Ngô An Siêu chưa từng nặng lời với nàng. Câu này giống như con dao cứa vào lòng nàng, rất đau, rất đau. Nước mắt các chị tràn hơi khóe mắt. Tống Tiểu Ái dừng dừng nhìn Ngô An Siêu, tuyệt vọng xoay người đi. Chỉ nghe Ngô Văn Đình cùng quát to một tiếng: Ngươi cút ra ngoài cho ta. Tống Tiểu Ái run lên, nhưng lòng nàng đã chết lặng. Lời nói của Ngô Văn Đình đã không thể khiến nàng cảm thấy đau thương nhiều hơn nữa. Ngô An Siêu thấy Tống Tiểu Ái bị mình mắng đến rơi lệ nên không phải mềm lòng. Lại nghe phụ thân của trách nàng, y cũng không lành lòng. Nhưng Tống Tiểu Ái đối đãi lão phụ như thế, vẫn làm con như y, còn có thể làm gì? Chính là mỗi một bất hiếu. Y cẩn hồi muốn rơi máu, kiên quyết ngẩng đầu đi. Quyết tâm không nhìn Tống Tiểu Ái. Không ngờ Ngô Văn Đình hít chân đá mắng: Đồ khốn kiếp, lão tử bảo ngươi cút ra ngoài, ngươi có nghe không? Hả? Ngô An Siêu ngẩng đầu ngạc nhiên nhìn Ngô Văn Đình. Phụ thân không phải là khí cận công tâm thần kinh vấn đề rồi đó chứ? Ngô Văn Đình cao giọng nói: Tống đại nhân, xin dừng bước. Đoàn ông trừng mắt nhìn Ngô An Siêu, lại nói: Máu cút, đi xách thùng nước lên đây. Bộ dạng lão tử thế này không tắm rửa một chút thì làm sao tay quần áo? Hả? Ngô An Siêu đẩy mặt ra, tại vì lão tử cho cô đàn nữa. Lúc này mơ mà đứng lên đi ra ngoài như vì mộng du. Ngô Văn Đình từ tốn nói: Tống cô nương, mời vào trứng một chút. Tống Tiểu Ái chần chừ tiến vào bên trứng, im lặng một lát, đột nhiên quỳ xuống nức nở. Lão gia tử, là lỗi của Tiểu Ái tạ lỗi với người, xin một lão gia tử đừng trách mắng Tiểu Ngũ lớn. Con là con không có phúc phần này, về sau cũng sẽ không trông mong làm dâu Ngũ gia của người nữa. Nàng nói xong liền dập đầu 3 lượt, hai hàng nước mắt rốt cuộc không kìm được đã chảy xuống. Tống Tiểu Ái nhếch môi, lau nước mắt nói: Cáo từ. Tống Tiểu Ái đứng dậy định đi. Ngô Văn Đình vội vàng ngăn lại nói: Con đường, dừng bước. Tống cô nương, xin dừng bước. Tống Tiểu Ái mở to đôi mắt đẫm lệ, ngạc nhiên nhìn Ngô Văn Đình. Ngô Văn Đình quen tay trở ra, sau một hồi lại ngượng ngùng buông xuống, cười sang sảng nói: Trong một ngày hạ được Lăng Tiêu Thành, hơn nữa tổn thất đã nhỏ như vậy, tốt lắm. Có phong độ của một đại tướng, đúng là nữ anh hùng không thua đấng mày dâu. Ông ôm bụng cười khan nói: Nhà người ta đều đánh đòn phù đầu với tân nương tử, con thì hay rồi, sợ chưa đủ chu đáo còn trói lão Ngũ ta vào cột xoáy kỳ của con phơi nắng, cho ta một đòn phù đầu cực lớn, làm tốt lắm. Thực sự là làm tốt lắm. Tống Tiểu Ái vội vàng giải thích: Còn bên Ngô đại nhân chắc không tha thứ cho con, nhưng con vẫn muốn nói, trước khi đi con có dặn họ phải chiếu cố người thật tốt, là chiếu cố người thật tốt. Ai ngờ họ hiểu sai ý con nên xảy ra chuyện thế này, con không còn lời nào để nói. Ngô Văn Đình trợn mắt nói: Mà kể đi, hôm nay là ta đã hiểu được con, cũng va chạm với con là chủ soái Hoa Quân nên chỉ tội của ta. Phải làm vậy thôi. Là lão phu có mắt không tròng, lão phu còn phải chịu chân này nữa. Đứa con ngoan như vậy nếu về nhà người khác, lão Ngũ ta đây không phải càng có mắt không có chồng hay sao? Không cam lòng, ta không chịu để thiệt như vậy, kiên quyết không chịu. Tống Tiểu Ái cũng có chút bối rối, đầu óc tức thì xoay mòng mòng. Nàng lấy làm khó hiểu nhìn Ngũ Văn Đình. Ngũ Văn Đình đổi giọng gian xảo nói: Nhưng dù gì đi nữa, luận về công, tuy ta đắc tội với con, nhưng luận về tư con lại dám mạo phạm ta. Con nói xem ta có nên truy cứu việc này không? Tống Tiểu Ái ủ rũ nói: Ngũ đại nhân muốn phạt thế nào cứ phạt. Tống Tiểu Ái không một câu oán hận: Được, đây là do con nói, quân tử nhất ngôn, tứ mã nan truy, con cũng không thể đổi ý. Ngũ Văn Đình vội vàng bồi thêm một câu: Đó là hiển nhiên, Tống Tiểu Ái tuy là nữ nhân, nhưng nói là dự lên lời. Tống Tiểu Ái ngẩng đầu lên quả quyết nói. Vũ Văn Định mừng rỡ vô vàng. Con nói đó, đây chính là con nói, không được đổi ý. Con ta thích con, ta mặc kệ. Con thích con ta, nguyện ý làm vợ của nó, ta cũng đồng ý. Nhưng có một điều này, một khi thành thân, con phải ngoan ngoãn làm con dâu Ngũ gia ta, bước vào cửa Ngũ gia ta. Con tuy là tổ ti trong gia, địa vị cao thượng, nhưng dòng tộc Ngũ gia ta đã còn trông cậy vào y chăm sóc người thân đến lúc lâm chung. Truyền lại hương khói, con cũng không thể khiến y làm sói tới cửa, bắt con ta ôm đi. Ngay cả cháu chất ta cũng ôm đi. Đạo Ngũ ta đây tương lai còn có mặt mũi nào gặp tổ tông dưới Kiều Tuyên. Hả? Tống Tiểu Ái đầu tiên là sừng sốt, lập tức bật cười. Nàng xấu hổ sau một lúc lâu mới cúi đầu vươn đuôi lót áo, đỏ mặt, nói: Người ta lúc nào nói muốn Tiểu Ngũ làm sói tới cửa đâu, còn thích Tiểu Ngũ, dĩ nhiên là muốn vào cửa Ngũ gia. Nàng đã trong lòng Vũ Văn Định liền buông xuống, mặt mày hớn hở nói: Không cần ở rể sao? Vậy là tốt, nhưng ta nghe nói dân tộc cha các con có tập tục là không nở nhà chồng. Tập nam xuất giá nữ lấy chồng, từ xưa này đã là như vậy. Hơn nữa trong nhà chỉ có đối tượng giống như con, lại là tộc trưởng. Nói đến đây ông không khỏi lo lắng trừng mắt. Còn nói thật chứ, thực sự không cần con ta ở rể sao? Thấy Tống Tiểu Ái xấu